Pre-calculus, how to find the midpoint of a line segment. In this tutorial, we will describe how to find the midpoint of a line segment. For example, let us describe the following. Okay, our goal is to find the midpoint of a line segment. And the way we'll do that is first let's derive the midpoint formula. So what's the goal? We want to take the midpoint of a line segment, so that means at the end of each end of the segment, it represents 2 points. So let's try to derive the midpoint formula by working with the 2 endpoints. And also, let's keep in consideration that the goal is to average out the values of the respective coordinates of those endpoints. So let's derive the formula. All right, so let's say if we're given 2 points. Let's say we have x1 and y1, and this represents point 1. And also we have x2, y2, which will represent point 2. So we say that the midpoint can be derived from these 2 endpoints and averaging out the coordinates. So let's start. We say we have, let's focus on the x's. So from point 1, we have x1. And also we want to add x2 from point 2. And we want the average from the 2 points. So it's written this way. We also do the same for the y values. So we have y1 and we add up y2, and we want to get the averages of the y's. And this represents the midpoint formula. And this is what we wanted to show. Alright, previously we described the midpoint formula. We said that the midpoint equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2, which represents the x coordinate. And we say that y1 plus y2 divided by 2 represent the y coordinates. So we're given a couple of points. We have point 1 and point 2. For point 1, we have the value -4 and -2. And for point 2, we have the values 8 and 2. So point 1 and point 2 represents the endpoint of a line segment. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the midpoint formula and determine what is the midpoint between these two points. So let's begin. All right, so we already written out the midpoint formula, and it's just a matter of plugging in the values. All right, so for point 1, we want to start off with x1. We want to get its x coordinate, which is -4. And then we want to get the x coordinate from point 2, which is 8. And then we want to divide by 2. Okay, with respect to the y coordinates, y1 we get from point 1, its value is -2. And then we want the y2 value, we retrieve this from point 2, its value is 2. Then we divide by 2. All right, let's continue. All right, so -4 plus 8 is a value of 4. And divide that by 2, that represents the x coordinate. And on the right, we have -2 plus 2 is 0. And divide by 2. And let's continue. All right, so 4 divided by 2 is a value of 2. And then 0 divided by 2 is a value of 0. And what we have is a midpoint with coordinates 2 and 0. And what this represents is the midpoint between the given points -4, -2, and 8 and 2. And this is what we wanted to show. Okay, so previously we described the midpoint formula, and then we also did an example with a couple of points to show the midpoint. We use a value -4, -2 to represent 1 point, and we also use a value of 8 and 2 to represent the second point. The midpoint came out to be the value or coordinates 2, 0. So what we want to show is let's actually enter the points and let's see what happens. Let's see if this really produced the midpoint with coordinates 2 and 0. So first we're going to enter the first coordinate that we had in the previous example. So we're going to go and put -4 and -2 and enter that in. So here we have it represented as point A. Let's go ahead and put the next point in, and we have 8 and 2, and that it's right here. So this represents, let me draw it out. So let's see here. So this is representing Alright, so this is representing -4 and -2. And this coordinate represents 8 and 2. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a line segment and try to come up with the midpoint. Alright, so we have, let's see here. Okay, here's a line segment. So what I'm going to do is click on point A and B. So that represents a line segment. Let's see if we can find the formula to find the midpoint between that segment. So we'll click the midpoint or center here. Click A and click B. And what do you know? It does show that the midpoint is between points -4 and -2 and 8 and 2. The midpoint is 2 and 0. And this is what we wanted to show. This puts us in a position for my next tutorial where we describe how to find the equation of a circle. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you find this tutorial to be helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also feel free to join us here at the Computing Sector. There will be more videos and tutorials coming soon. Thanks.